Yeah, we back. Welcome to part 2. Now, I do not know what is going to be the name of this series, man. This is going to be part 2 to a video I put out a couple days ago entitled, take a look up on the screen, Why Did the King of Haiti Murder the French Ambassador? And in that video, we are reading a book that came out back in 1815 entitled Le Cri de la Conscience, put out by Vasty the Baron. That was one of King Henry Christophe, the King of Haiti's right-hand man. Right, so he put out one of many books. We're reading this book in this series right here. And if you watch the first one, then you already know how Vasty, the author of this book, had laid out a perfect legal defense and justification for why the French ambassador was murdered when he entered the territory of the kingdom. Go watch that first part, man. Go watch part 1, man. Laid it out like a defense attorney. And also in that first part of the book, we get a glimpse into how passionate the rivalry was between the two states, the two rival states of Haiti during that time, the Kingdom and the Southern Republic, right? Because towards the end of the book, towards the end of part 1, you had seen that Vasty had actually called for the murder of General Pétion, who was the president of the Southern Republic of Haiti. And keep in mind, this was a published book that was sent out across the world for the general public. And in that book, Vasty, the right-hand man to Christophe, called for the murder of General Alexander Pétion in front of the entire world, essentially, right? And besides the fact that this book is a major geopolitical artifact written from the perspective of the black man, this is legendary because this is one of the earliest forms in the Western Hemisphere of black men controlling our narrative, releasing books from our printing presses, independently established, independently maintained. This book was released and distributed across the world under the authorization of Christophe's government back in 1815. But anyways, man, let's get back into it. In part 1, we had left off at the end where Vasty was calling for the murder of General Alexander Pétion, the president of Southern Haiti. That was crazy. That was insane. You know, Vasty in front of the entire world said that General Alexander Pétion should be murdered for what he did. That is absolutely insane. Anyways, man, let's get back into it. Vasty went on to say, I promise to prove to you that Pétion was guilty of the crime of high treason, and this is what I will convince you of by his writings, by his actions, and by the writings of the French colonists, his accomplices. I take the collection entitled Documents Relating to Communications Made on Behalf of the French Government to the President of the Southern Republic of Haiti by Mr. Lavesse, Deputy of His Majesty Louis XVIII, King of France, printed in Port-au-Prince. In the letter from Mr. Lavesse, written to General Alexander Pétion from Jamaica on September 6th, we notice, as I've already told you, the following passage. The King of France says he will share with the mulattoes the rights of subjects and French citizens, which certainly is preferable to the fate of being treated like evil savages and hunted down like maroon Negroes. In the following paragraph, it is also stated, make these reflections, this monologue, General, penetrate the reasonable men who deserve your trust, and you will deserve the most honorable mark to the satisfaction of your king, the recognition of your homeland and the inhabitants of Haiti, whom we cannot cease to consider as French. Now, Mr. Lavesse, being in Jamaica, indicated to Pétion the purpose of his mission. He did not hide it from him. He spoke to him of sharing the rights of French subjects and citizens. He spoke to him of the honorable marks of satisfaction of his king and of his homeland, Louis XVIII and France. He ends by insulting the mass of the population, which according to Mr. Lavesse must return to slavery, by threatening to treat the mulattoes, if they did not accept his proposals, as savages, evildoers, and to hunt them down like maroon Negroes. I now ask, which king or leader of a free and independent people, under what denomination and under what form of government, if proposed by a foreign power, to reject the independence of his state, to bring his people under the yoke by sharing the rights of subjects and citizens of this power with a small portion of his people, and that the majority will be plunged back into the horrors of slavery? Is there any king or leader who would listen to such proposals and undertake to execute such an infamy? But General Pétion, far from rejecting the bloody outrages done to the Haitian people by this spy, he insulted the Congress of the people, their senators, and the dignity of his place as an obliger. He listened to this scoundrel, and he solicited his return to Port-au-Prince. Now, for those of y'all who may be lost, Vasty is taking shots, as he's been doing throughout the book, sending shots to General Alexander Pétion, the leader of the South, the leader of the rival government in the South. As you already know, Vasty was Christophe's right-hand man, the king of the North. And basically throughout the book, he's basically been rebuking General Alexander Pétion's conduct as it relates to how he interacted with the French spies and the French ambassadors when they came to his country. Vasty, as you can see, did not respect how Pétion went about negotiating with the enemies of the state. Now let's continue. Vasty went on to say, here are the remarkable passages of Pétion's letter to Mr. La Veste, dated September 24th, 1814. Now, it seems that this may be a letter that Vasty has gotten his hands on that was written by General Alexander Pétion to the French ambassadors. Wow, let's get into it, man. Keep in mind, I'm reading this along with y'all. I'm reading this. It's my first time reading this. Let's get into it. Apparently, Pétion said, upon the arrival of the ship of His Britannic Majesty, I was favored with the letter that your excellency honored me by addressing to me on the 6th of this month, and which announces the mission of which you are in charge by His Most Christian Majesty, King Louis XVIII. Now it goes back to Vasty's writing. He went on to say, after conversing with the spy about the revolution that placed Louis XVIII on the throne of his ancestors, General Pétion ends his letter by saying this: I regret, after reading your excellency's dispatches, that you did not take the journey yourself to Port-au-Prince, or did not deem it appropriate to communicate to me the nature and extent of your intentions. I take the liberty to advise your excellency the frankness and loyalty which have always been the basis of all my actions. Guarantee your excellency that you will find among us respect due to your person, the distinguished character which you are endowed, and the respect towards the king from whom your orders emanate. I beg your excellency to kindly accept the feelings of high consideration with which I have the honor to be your very humble and very obedient servant. Signed, General Alexander Pétion. Now, time out, man. I mean, wow. I mean, the conduct between the two leaders of Haiti during this time when the French sent those two diplomats, man. I mean, those three diplomats, bro. You got Christophe on one hand. Christophe killed the French ambassador. You got Pétion on the other hand talking about, I'm your very humble and obedient servant. You know, we got the highest respect and the highest consideration for you. When you come to Port-au-Prince, you're going to be safe. Everything is going to be all good. Bro, he called himself the obedient servant of the French. And then he signed his name on the letter, bro. This is absolutely, bro. Now I understand why Vasty wanted to kill him. Now I understand why in part 1, Vasty openly called for the murder of General Pétion in front of the whole world. I get it now. I get it, bro. I get it. I understand. Let's continue. Vasty went on to say, you will notice, my fellow citizens, in this letter, the flattery of Pétion towards this spy. It is quite striking. He did not reply to him as he should have. The citizens who I represent and who have entrusted me with the precious deposit of the safety of their rights are a free and independent nation which will never submit to a foreign power. General Pétion did not say to them that King Louis XVIII is not his sovereign. France is not his homeland. Did Pétion tell them that the Haitians will never consent to share the rights of subjects and French citizens? Did he not tell you that they dared to insult a free people by calling them evil savages and maroon Negroes? And if driven by this audacity, that if they dared set foot in Haiti, did he tell them that he will have them hanged to teach them to respect the rights of people? Far from that. Pétion, as you can see in his letter, by his silent implicity, agreed to everything that was said to him by the spy. Because according to the proverb, he who says nothing consents. Time out. Like I said in part 1, the main reason why Vasty was so infuriated and outraged by General Alexander Pétion was because he did not understand why he was so friendly and so diplomatic with the French ambassadors. He even said, how come you didn't tell the French ambassadors that if they even set foot in your territory that you would have them hanged on sight? Vasty said that. He was like, bro, why didn't you say that you would have them hanged, bro? Why were you trying to flatter them? And he says, he who says nothing consents. Because you didn't speak up and demand your respect, you essentially agreed to everything that was said. Now let's continue. Vasty went on to say, what baseness, what a shame, what infamy for Pétion. Thus, the moment Pétion had admitted Mr. La Veste to meet him in Port-au-Prince on a preliminary set out in his letter on September 6th, without raising any objections, there existed between them an implicit agreement by which Pétion agreed to reject the independence of the Haitian people. He accepted to share the rights of subjects and French citizens, to degrade men of color into abjection, and he gave his consent so that the black population could be plunged back into the horrors of slavery. It was only a matter of communicating with Mr. La Veste to find out the nature and extent of his mission. That is to say, the extent of the concessions that he could make, and to determine the conditions and means to achieve the definitive execution of the treaty, which will be easy for us to prove. And this is how, after welcoming this vile spy, he paid him honors that are only given to ambassadors, honors which were not due to Mr. La Veste, even if he had been an agent of Louis XVIII, having then to be considered as a minister of the third or fourth order, honors all the more degrading. that they were lavished on a vile spy, on a brigand, who would have better deserved a rope to be hanged. And to add insult to injury, Pétion bargained in writing with this spy for the inalienable rights of a people, their freedom, their independence. And I'll prove this fact. Here is the note that Mr. Vastey notified to Pétion, dated from Port-au-Prince on November 11th. The text reads as follows: "The undersigned principal agent of the Minister of the Navy in the colonies for the restoration of the French colony on the island of Haiti has the honor of proposing the considerations and measures mentioned below to Mr. President Pétion and to the authorities constituted in this area." Now it goes back to Vastey's writing. Vasty went on to say, "The restoration of the French colony on the island of Haiti is the rejection of independence. Nothing is more obvious. To admit Mr. Vastey to treat without his prior basis was to accept that independence would be destroyed, to consent to see the overthrow of the building of the state, and to do the cruelest insult to the Haitian nation. I asked Pétion, in charge of the executive powers, to use his own expressions, if the executive power could afford to receive such a proposal and to enter into deliberation on this subject with Mr. Vastey, the act of independence, the Constitution, his oath, duty obliged to him to reject with indignation an opening so outrageous and so contrary to the interests of the people. Pétion, therefore, violated all the fundamental laws of the state with impunity. Thus, this precious good, the result of so much glorious work and bloodshed, independence, the only guarantee of our existence, still in its cradle, was going to be sacrificed by the most deceitful and villainous of all men." There is no doubt that Pétion and Mr. Vastey in their terrible meeting had ceased to continue this horrible attack. It was only a matter of leading the people little by little through trickery and persuasion to recognize the authority of Louis XVIII beyond this negotiation between Pétion and the spy, or through 1,000 subterfuges, shady and double-meaning phrases. Pétion's soul and perfidious projects are revealed in spite of himself. I will give you the proof. Here is how Mr. Vastey expressed himself in this regard. In his note to Pétion on November 9th, he said this: "These preliminary reflections posed, I would have the honor to propose to the President of Haiti to recognize and proclaim sovereignty of the French monarch as soon as he has judged in his wisdom the people of this country sufficiently prepared for this great and happy event." Then it goes back to Vastey's writing. Vasty went on to say, "Now, Pétion had to, in his wisdom, prepare the people to make the sacrifice of their freedom and their independence. Have we ever seen anything more horrible? Ah, the villain. As a price for his crimes, Pétion was to be the president of the provisional government of Haiti. The sentence below gives us the nature of the villainy of these two demons with human figures. Mr. Vastey had said, 'Let the Haitians remember that the violent and unruly men whose prejudice is incompatible with the tranquility of the colony will be rejected from its bosom.'" Time out. So in that letter from the French spy, the French agent, the French diplomat, the French ambassador, whatever you want to call him, they had said that when the French colony is going to be reestablished on the island, that the violent and unruly, unrepentant black man is not allowed. He's not invited. The violent, unruly black man is not invited. The black man with pride and honor and dignity, ready to die for what he believes in, he's not invited, right? So all the unruly men, all the violent men, they can't stay when the French colony is going to be reestablished. Now let's continue. It goes back to Vastey's writing. Vasty went on to say, "Violent and unrepentant men are the ardent defenders of freedom and independence, those who will not bow their heads under the yoke of slavery. This is what this spy calls a prejudice incompatible with the tranquility of the colony." Here is a passage from Mr. Vastey's instructions in this regard. "As for the largest class in number, that of blacks attached to the cultivation and manufacture of sugar and indigo, it is essential that they return to the situation that it was before 1789, except to make regulations on the discipline to observe, such that this discipline is sufficient for the good order and a reasonable amount of work, but nothing too severe. It will be necessary, in concert with Pétion, to advise on ways to bring in on the dwellings and the subordination of the greatest number of blacks possible, in order to reduce that of free blacks, those that we don't want to admit in this last class and who would carry into the other a spirit of insurrection that is too dangerous and will have to be transported to another island elsewhere. This measurement must enter into Pedro's ideas, if he wants to ensure his fortune and the interest of his caste, and no one can arrange things better than him for his execution when the time is right." Now it goes back to Vastey's writing. Vasty went on to say, "According to this, who can doubt that Pétion was perfectly initiated in the mission of this scoundrel, and that he was informed of the horrible political plan that this spy was responsible for putting into execution in concert with him. This is what I will prove to the very obvious by Pétion's own words. In his response, where he has the audacity to tell Mr. La Veste that he became Haitian in spite of himself, out of necessity, to avoid death. Here is the answer. From November 12th, General Pétion, after having given a rather lively narration on the evils we experienced from the French, where he excuses rather than justifies the great motives that led us to proclaim independence, said stupidly to the spy with the hypocritical mask that he knows how to put on so well according to his designs. General Pétion said, "I myself took my part to escape death. What was our hope? What was the possibility of defeating the French? But also, what was our alternative? Could we hesitate in the course we had to take? The Creator and our perseverance have done the rest." Now, it goes back to Vasty's writing. Vasty went on to say, "Who does not see in this sentence that Pétion is still French at heart? It was not patriotism nor the horror of the French that made him take this side. He said it himself quite simply. It was to escape death, that he had no hope, that he could not hesitate, so nothing could be clearer and more positive. It's as if he had said to the French, 'Guarantee my life, be fair and reasonable. You will see me become French again, because I was Haitian in spite of myself, out of necessity, when I could not do otherwise.' Here, without being a logician, is the true meaning of this beautiful sentence. And this is so true that you will notice with me, as a thing well worthy of focusing our attention, that from September 6th until November 20th, during the course of this infamous negotiation, in all of the writings of the spy of Pétion, and from Pétion to the spy, you will not find that a single word is mentioned about the recognition of our independence, which corroborates and gives us clear proof that this important question had been decided by these two bandits, and everything subsequently proves it to us. This, my brothers, I beg you to focus your attention on. To get a fair idea on the state of negotiations at the time of the 12th of November, which I am now discussing, we must first consider at the time what the respective position of Pétion and the spy were. This is what I'm going to do in order to shed light on this diabolical affair, and to properly establish your judgment, my brothers. I must let you know what the spies' offer to Pétion was and how they differed in order to reach agreement. Now, listen, we can wrap up part 2 right here, part 2 of the book Le Cri de la Conscience, that came out in 1815 from the printing presses of the Kingdom of Haiti, sent out and distributed across the world. I don't know how long this series is going to be. I don't know how long this book is. I'm only on page like 20, 21, 22. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But anyways, man, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Cash App in the description. Support the platform. Support the channel. Album out now. We out. Support the album. Peace.
Feel like I'm 75. Know that your team be full of them traders. You know that can never be mine. I'm grabbing a thought when I drive. I'm back in my zone and we on. She said that she ready to come be my wife, yeah, hoping I don't do her wrong. I gave her my word and it's bond. I'm whipping the best like a lamb. I'm eating no chicken and lamb. Accustomed to call me the man. I never be up on the gram. I'm keeping that way undercover. She want me to tell her I love her. I told her I'm breaking the rules. I told her we making the news. Back in my city, they loving me. Standing alone, I'm 100 deep. Enemy plotting and still in reach. They try to make sure that we underneath. Trying to make sure that we never make it. Coming for power, come get acquainted. Coming for everything that I wanted. Feeling like Drake, but I really wrote it. Feeling like Kendrick, I'm checking names. Gotta roll up while I go insane. Got so much stress, I've been gated weight. Stuffing these racks in this Louis case. One thing for certain, I'm about to check. Keep it 100 and nothing less. Stick with the family since day one. Had to stay down till my day come. Had to stay down, but I'm never patient. Hop on the mic and I'm motivated. Hop on the mic and I drop a classic. Haters can't see me, they copping glasses. Back in the studio making magic. Got a new tape and it's in production. Back on my business, I got a budget. Staying low key when I'm out in public. Feel like I'm 75. Know that your team be full of them traders. You know that can never be mine. I'm grabbing a thought when I drive. I'm back in my zone and we on. She said that she ready to come be my wife, yeah, hoping I don't do her wrong. I gave her my word and it's bond. I'm whipping the best like a lamb. I'm eating no chicken and lamb. Accustomed to call me the man. I never be up on the gram. I'm keeping that way undercover. She want me to tell her I love her. I told her I'm breaking the rules. I told her we making the news.